you say if I said that I could bring them back?
I guess I'd say I never thought of that.
Well, alright, hold tight, you might wanna stand back, because one small John is coming intact.
St. John forward, spitting out some more words, fully intact, jacked, ready to rap and attack. Small John on your lawn, living like a gnome, hit you with my lyrics like a bullet to your dome.
Tonight when he comes up here, he's either gonna kill or he's gonna suck. But there's no in between for Mr. John Forward.
Oh, well, I didn't know any of that.
Well, that's what I've been trying to say the whole time.
That's me, John Forward, on the radio for the show. It's 9 o'clock on Monday. I'm live here at local FM for St. John Forward Radio. I'm just gonna get into it a little quickly, I guess. Good show at McGill's this past weekend. No jokes barred. Great turnout. Pretty much a packed house. All of the seats in the main room were taken up. Always good to see. So anyway, that's been going well. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Good show was good. The end. That's all you need to know. But more importantly, as the runner of a show called No Jokes Barred, the people of the earth are looking to me for my commentary on all this news about offensive comedy that's coming up lately. So the people are clamoring for my opinion. So we're gonna get into it a little bit. So I'm a little bit behind the ball on this, but the Dave Chappelle's newest special, Sticks and Stones. If you've been on the internet over these past few weeks, you've probably heard how it is single-handedly just destroying society, and that it needs to be avoided at all costs. Lots of articles and blog posts. Vice.com in particular had an article that was titled something along the lines of "You Can Skip the New Dave Chappelle Special." Just talked about how not funny and offensive and bigoted and all of those words it was, which... I'm not going to begrudge these people for writing their dumb articles about things, but, just the kind of call to action, like, don't watch it, is kind of a different thing that I don't recall seeing previously. Which, on the one hand, fine. If you don't like something, then send a message to Netflix. Don't add to the viewing numbers. If nobody watches it, then maybe this trash will not be made anymore. That's fine. I'm all for the free market. It's kind of ridiculous to write an article about how outrageous something is, and then just your whole point be like, we watched it. Here's your opinion. Don't bother making up your own mind. The end. Like, that's not good cultural commentary. Like, whatever your opinion is, if your point is, we watched it so you didn't have to, here's your point, here's your opinion, don't bother. That's kind of ridiculous. And I watched the special, and it covers some of the sacred topics that people get upset about, but I didn't find it particularly offensive. Like, nothing. I'm super woke in the comedy community, but by comparison, watching it, there wasn't anything where I was like, oh, like I wasn't tugging my shirt collar at all. It just seems to be the certain topics are brought up, and it doesn't really matter what you say about those topics unless it's just across the board bravery, and just unless it's just completely fluff. I don't think there's any way that you can have any kind of an angle on race or like gender issues and all that stuff. I don't think there's any way to say anything about it other than like 100% on board with the most soft version of, I don't know. I didn't like the special as much as the last two. I still liked it. It just, I don't know. I don't think it's his best. And it's not because I was offended. I just happened to, and it might have just been my experience. The last few were more of a, we've been waiting for this for a long time, and this one was, more. It was good, and even an okay Dave Chappelle special is still better than most other people's specials. So I'm not.
You were watching it at an abortion clinic, that's why.
Yeah, I was in a much better mood when I watched it in that setting. So, but the graphic that's been going around, like originally it was like 31% on Rotten Tomatoes was the critical rating, 99% audience, which shows you what the disconnect is between like the internet commentators and the real world. And then there was a graphic comparing that to Hannah Gadsby's Nanette, 100% Rotten Tomatoes critical darling, 54% audience, which since people started sharing that graphic around, I think people have piled on to Rotten Tomatoes to beat up on the rating a bit more. I think it's down to like 31% today. But when that started going around, it was 54%, which I didn't mind Nanette for what it was. It was a fine one-woman show. It is not the future of comedy. I didn't watch it as a comedy special. It was a thing. It would have been a pretty decent Fringe Festival show, and that's what it is. I don't think it's the future of comedy. I'm not as upset about it as some people, but I don't know. It is pretty telling the huge difference between the critical reaction and people actually watching it. But I get it. If I'm writing a thing on the internet, it's probably a fair assumption that outrage is going to get more clicks than anything else. But much stranger is when the comedians themselves, even some local people that nobody asked, just they add to the pile-on for some reason. I'm not sure exactly what they hope to gain from it.
Well, I'm glad they could take time out of their cocaine binges to look up from the table and tweet out something sort of pithy and inane. But go ahead.
Yeah, so, there are comedians around here that, they talk about that kind of stuff a lot, and, a bit of woke outrage would be pretty on brand, but when comedians that are generally pretty apolitical just decide to chime in out of nowhere, it just seems weird.
Do you have an example of some, like a quote maybe?
No. But, and not specifically. I don't want to talk trash to anybody specific. You know who you are. They're not listening anyway. But I don't like throwing around the term virtue signaling, because I don't know. That's kind of a conversation ender, and it doesn't have a real strict definition. I think most of the people that use it do a fair amount of virtue signaling of their own. Just happens to be virtues on the other end of the spectrum.
What they mean when someone says virtue signaling is that it's the equivalent of someone calling someone pretentious, which is basically it's a way of calling someone a liar. When you accuse someone of virtue signaling, you're essentially saying you don't believe the thing that you're saying. You're actually lying to me. That's what being called pretentious actually is.
Well,
You're accusing the other person.
Virtue signaling, I take it as
the undercurrent is the same.
Look at how right I am about things, which, even if they believe it, is still kind of a gross thing. So, but I think it's also, just by strict definition of the words and how I understand it, I think it's just as much a virtue signal to be like, these damn PC whatever. It's a different virtue that
it's called vice signaling. It's the opposite of it. It's the bizarro cousin of it. But anyway, go on.
So anyway, I stating an opinion that has anything to do with morality, especially when nobody asked you, I think is a virtue signal, including this monologue that you're listening to right now. But I don't know. In this case, it just seems like a desperate plea to seem hip and relevant, and it doesn't strike me as particularly genuine. So if I'm accusing them of being full of shit, then okay, then the label applies. One guy I'm thinking of in particular offended by Chappelle's special on one social media account, and then posting about this awesome, sweet bootleg of a Nazi exploitation film on another account that doesn't have his name on it. Another guy complaining.
Does he have any observations about the Kingston Peninsula, perhaps? The ferry
I think maybe a few.
Yeah.
Another guy complaining about Bill Burr's special, which not even the internet outrage machine really had much to say about that one. So this is doubling down on something even the internet can't be bothered with. And, you know, both of these people that I'm referring to have behaved badly in the real world beyond saying mean words into a microphone. So it's just odd that this is the hill they want to die on. And you know, one of the points I'm seeing a lot of on Facebook is just the supposed hypocrisy of these millionaire comedians on a huge platform like Netflix talking about how they can't say what they want anymore. And I see what you're going for there, but that's also kind of admitting that the outrage is a fake thing. But most of the real people that don't work on the internet really don't care about this stuff. Not one person in my life has had any outrage finding out that I saw Louis C.K. at Skankfest in June. Actually, one of these two gentlemen talking smack about current comedy specials. I had a conversation about seeing Louis in New York, and they were very excited about it and a little bit jealous. So it's a weird turn to make. And yeah, like Chappelle, Bill Burr, Louis, they've got a ton of money, and that's the thing though, they're big enough that they don't really need to worry about being fired. They're filling seats and they're kind of untouchable, and you know, even if they stop getting booked, they've got they can still take a chance because they're not going to be out on the street tomorrow, but they still need to worry about the internet trying to get them canceled. Just because it was not successful doesn't mean that it's not there. They're pretty safe, but you know, if big websites are posting everything that they can do to stoke the fire and get these people fired and get their specials pulled, and it didn't work, but they still tried. And you know, that's a thing that's happening in the world, and if you're a comedian, you're supposed to comment on stuff that's happening in the world. And so yeah, the rich guys can get away with it. Also, low-level New Brunswick amateur comedians, nobody cares what we do either. And when they do, it's all behind your back, and maybe you don't get asked to do a show or whatever. There's no real process. But even like moderately bigger Halifax, there was a big outrage about some throwaway comments on a podcast a little while ago, and that was a big fuss. But, you know, there's people in the middle that aren't like the low-level nobodies like us, and they aren't like the big-shot millionaire comedians, and they do need to be worried. Anybody that's on their way up needs to be really worried that their career can be cut short on the way up. Maybe not completely, but they don't have the same safety net to weather the storm if things do go bad. Anyway, we're going to talk about it some more with my guest, Arif Hussain, here, but Shane Gillis, a comedian that I mostly know from his guest appearances on the Legion of Skanks podcast, and Arif caught his set at Skankfest when we were there in June. Recently was announced as a cast member on Saturday Night Live. Didn't last very long, though, so we'll talk about that after the break, but anyway, let's play a quick song, and then we'll come back with Arif and talk some Shane Gillis. And here's an Open Mike Eagle song called "Woke As Me," which I'm not sure. I don't even know if it's a joke. It's hard to tell.
Is it recently?
Yeah, it's from the soundtrack to some show called The New Negroes that he does with Baron Vaughn, who I've heard of but not super familiar with. But anyway, song's funny. Here it is.
Yo, sleepyhead ass. Yo, bedhead ass. You been sleep all morning. You sleepy than a motherfucker. Nigga, sing you a lullaby.
You say you woke, bro? I say supposedly. You ain't nowhere near as woke as you supposed to be. Man, you telling jokes. Fool, you so asleep. Bruh, you might be woke, you just ain't woke as me. He say he woke, but he ain't woke enough. I'm dropping facts to make his third eye open up. He's still in mental jail. I see him tail spinning. His woke frail. He can't even see his male privilege. Carbon footprint small, man, I kinda doubt it. Real woke brothers live in tiny houses. I ain't never been sleep, it's excruciating. I've been woke so long, I'm hallucinating. You say you woke, you just pretend to do it. I'm keeping all my pronouns gender fluid. Your mind is not open, you probably not voting. You throw away whole roaches, homie, we composting. I bet you think it's rumors, homie need a tutor. I'm a groovy, still sleep, he ain't deleted Uber. Had the crown, I'ma take it from you. I wear hemp drawers and biodegradable shoes. I know the planet fucked up and how it got that way. I only flush my toilet once every goddamn day. I'm fucking woke. You say you woke, bro? I say supposedly. You ain't nowhere near as woke as you supposed to be. Man, you telling jokes. Yeah. Fool, you so asleep. Yeah. Bro, you might be woke, you just ain't woke as me.
Trying to beat me in a woke off and get broke off. No jokes, you don't want no smoke. With this woke Tom Brokaw, your neighborhood vegan weed dealer, but I also sell books. I don't just rock the bells, I rock the bell hooks. In all lowercase, say her name, show her face. I've been body positive, me and my hoes is overweight. Gentrifying all your hoods, your taxes gotta be murder. Come through your cookout with kale and Impossible burgers. Shout out to the white girls if you're trying to see me. I got a biracial son named him Ta-Nehisi. One of my top 10 hitters in the barbershop fit right in with us. Mom wanna know why he's so pro-black. What's more pro-black than a light-skinned nigga? Intersectional, been that. On your mark, now let's get set. I've been yelling out since Harlem yelling out Dipset. Say this and I'm moving on. You thought toxic masculinity was a new cologne. Nigga, you was wrong. I'm the antidote. My life so botanical. Green party and I vote. And I go, man, oh man, goddamn, I'm woke.
We're back on St. John Forward Radio, and you're not as woke as us. That's right. So, Arif, you've been following the story closely. Do you want to give us a quick summary of the kind of what happened? When did this get announced? Thursday?
Well, he found out on Wednesday when he was that he was going to be a cast member. The announcement got made on Friday afternoon, and by Monday afternoon. Oh, and it was announced at around 4 our time, Friday afternoon, and then by around 5:30, there was a improv comedian in LA who had already started going through Shane Gillis's.
Is this the
Twitter?
Seth Simons,
or whatever Simmons.
His Twitter says, you don't get to be a freelance newsletter-based comedy labor journalist without making a few enemies. He's got a check mark.
Yeah, I think he's
a guy that writes stuff on the internet for whoever will buy it.
Yeah, a blue check mark is mostly now an indication of an imbecile personality that managed to fool Twitter.
Yeah.
That's what it seems to represent.
So
and
I got a mess. I was getting the updates from you on Facebook Messenger throughout the whole thing. You'd told me when we found out that he was announced as a cast member, which was surprising because he's, like I said, I mostly know him from Legion of Skanks appearances, and he's super super funny. I remember you saying specifically how good he was at Skankfest. I never caught his set.
He was awesome.
Most recently, I heard him on the Legion of Skanks podcast, where they went onto the dark web looking for a boy to buy.
Yeah, it was a hilarious bit, absolutely hilarious.
So yeah, right away you were like, yeah, this isn't gonna last long, and then within a couple hours, you're like, yep, this guy's digging through it already.
Yeah, this guy, Seth Simons, his contribution to comedy is on the internet, and his one great contribution is him doing a poetry made up of entirely bird sounds, where for about 5 minutes he just makes bird sounds, or different kinds of birds doing poetry.
Is it as good as the bird playing the keyboard at the end of that album that it made you listen to on the way to New York?
No, not quite. It didn't quite reach the cringe levels of that, but Yeah, and
So he as soon as the announcement hit, this guy's like, oh, here's my time to shine. I'm going to start pouring through podcasts and see what we can find.
Basically, and when I found out about it, my thing, listen, my position on SNL is very simple. I think it's a toothless comedy show aimed at the most mediocre of sensibilities right now in 2019, and any attachment that most comics have to SNL has got nostalgia value because of Colin Quinn, Norm Macdonald, Will Ferrell, Adam Sandler.
Yeah, I grew up on it.
Tracy Morgan. And everyone has to remember, most of those people, all of those people did all of their best work outside of SNL. And now the only reason to watch SNL is for Michael Shea. Honestly, that's the only reason that...
Yeah, I started watching it again. I dropped off a while ago. I think Colin Quinn was doing Weekend Update when I stopped watching. So I was not around for the Tina Fey and Seth Moore. What's his name? Seth Meyers. I came back on like 3 or 4 years ago, and I have been watching it. I haven't been loving it, but there's usually at least 1 or 2 sketches that makes it worth it, and I just skip through anything that I don't like. And Weekend Update's usually pretty good. You don't like Pete Davidson, but I like his pieces on Weekend Update. And there's the occasional good sketch, but it's not complete trash, but it's interesting just because it's live, and I don't know.
Shane Gillis was doing SNL a favor by being on the cast. He was going to add something that had a little bit of, had a spine, comedy that had a little bit of
right, but just as a performer though, like he's not really a sketch guy. Can you picture him?
Yes, he has. Okay. He has been. There are a few sketches of him online that he's done that are very good. That he's very funny. He plays that character of just a big dumb oaf perfectly well, and
he's got a thick Philly accent, which right out the gate, I want to not like him as soon as he starts talking, but I find him endearing, and I've always found him funny when I hear him on Legion of Skanks.
Yeah, there's something strange, and there's that sort of bizarre quality where you don't know what...
He seems like a dumb jock meathead.
But you'll want to like him anyway, and...
So, let's play a clip, and again... trigger warnings and all that. We're playing this for evaluation purposes. We don't condone the shocking statements made in this podcast.
Hey, speak for yourself, clip. Man. I, on the other hand,
local FM does not endorse this. We're playing it for evaluation
Arif Hussain, on the other hand, though.
So Seth Simmons posts... Today, SNL announced the hiring of its first cast member of East Asian descent, and also this guy. So I don't know if he was specifically looking for Asian stuff. Just be like, oh, they hired an Asian. Let's find some Asian stuff. No,
this was a clip off of his Matt and Shane secret podcast that I'd been listening to for the past 8 months. Hilarious podcast. That this was just a clip from one of their... All
right, so this is 2 minutes. Again, you'll be shocked to your core. So be warned if there's any children listening... Please,
kill them.
Stab them in the ears with Q-tips. All right. So anyway, sorry. Here it is.
Who are you apologizing to?
I don't know.
Whoever are you apologizing to?
This is a safe space radio station,
and I want to respect the terms. It's just you and me. What are they going to kick us off of campus radio? Who are they going to fill this over here?
Maybe. It's possible, but anyway, we're talking about a thing. So let's.
Which other idiot are they going to fill in with like Grand Theft Bus for an hour and a half?
We'll just throw on repeats. Anyway, let's listen.
Damn, Chinatown's fucking nuts.
It's crazy, dude.
It is full fucking China, dude. It's fucking Chinese down there.
I wonder how that started. They just built one fucked up looking building, and people were like, "All right, no one said anything.
Let the fucking chinks live there, huh?"
Well, they built these fucking like huge Shanghai houses. The first one must have infuriated everyone. They were like,
I'd piss
what
now.
The
I go
fuck?
down there. I'm like, "What are you guys doing here? Get these ducks out of that window."
You know what? Yeah, true. Also, I'm always like, how can there be so many fucking restaurants down here?
All restaurants. Well, because
you go in, there's like one person eating ever.
Fat white idiots like me are down there sucking down Nooders.
I hate China. I hate the food at Chinatown. Sucks. Chinese food's a very dishonest cuisine.
I don't even want to think about it.
They invented a fucking chemical to put in their food to make it delicious, dude.
It is.
They made as MSG.
Good for them.
It's a dishonest food, dude. There's nothing. There's nothing to it. It's shitty
very
meat.
honorable.
Shitty meat. A chemical they made up to fuck your body up, and Nooders.
The Nooders are fucking
Cheapest thing in the world.
We got
Chemical.
Yeah. Sick.
Worst meat you can find.
We got in there and we sat down, and baby girl was like, "I'm so excited for Nooders," and I was like, "Yo, chill." She was like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry."
She said Nooders.
Yeah. And there's a fucking and it's full fucking Chinese in there. It's like and it's such
Well, isn't
a weird,
that kind of like nice though? Isn't that being when people go into like a Mexican restaurant, like I'll have 2 tacos. Like I'll have a bowl of spicy Nooders.
But we had in the translation between you and the waiter.
Yeah,
it's just such a fucking hassle. It's like, can you? I'm pointing at it. Like this is the fucking Nooder.
Well, that's why I put number for like 57.
Yeah, this one even with the fucking shit. I was pointing. I was like, that sauce. That. She's like, yes. I was like, yeah, that one. She's like, yeah. She's like, medium or spicy? Yeah. She's like, medium. She's like, spicy. I was like, no, medium. No medium. Spicy. Yeah.
All right, so my first thing that I think is obviously, like, if you write...
This is every conversation you've had with me in the car to
Yes.
every comedy gig.
Now, like, when you take those words and type them out and put them in an article, it sounds pretty bad.
Still hilarious, though.
But, like, that's what I'm wondering. Does anybody listen to that, and does it read as actual I hate Asian people racism to anybody? Or are we just desensitized because we're kind of immersed in comedy?
There's an old, I don't know who this is from, but I'm going to steal it anyway. It's because a sense of humor and common sense are exactly the same thing. A sense of humor is basically just common sense dancing. The people who are actually upset by this do not have a sense of humor, and they don't have any common sense. You can clearly hear them joking about it. They know that that these are 2 people having a conversation about a Chinese restaurant. There is no obvious. They know that
like
he's not a bigot.
An actual bigot, like even in that clip, which is probably the most damning thing this guy could dredge up. Even in that bit, he talks about his girlfriend being in the restaurant and saying Nooders and being like, "Chill, like don't say that." Like he's almost saying like that's offensive. Don't say that. We're in public. But on a podcast, you're
parsing this thing for these people who do have no interest. These are you brought up the point earlier about them saying this weirdness of them going Vice magazine saying. Not only do we not like it, you shouldn't go watch it. Now, that's not a weird sensibility if you consider yourself as the high priest of culture. Do you know what? That's what these people think of themselves as.
When I was as deep into the Christianity as I was...
In fact, that they're worse than Christians, because at least Christians have a sense of forgiveness. At least they have that in them. At least it's in the theology. Whatever you might think of religious sensibilities, at least they have... the little engine of that you can forgive
even
people.
Even being 7 years old.
There was
even when I was 17 years old at Bible camp, it still rubbed me odd, like when I would get scolded for listening to secular music. Like I put on like a Foo Fighters song or something that didn't have any swears in it, and like people got upset that I was listening to this song that was not specifically about praising Jesus. Like I could almost get why, like, don't listen to like Slayer and like actively anti-Christian satanic stuff. I could almost get it, but they're just this weird dogma that you can only listen to the stuff that falls into this category. It always, even when I was full-on Christian, rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, these people are fanatics. And what is there's an original, the original etymology for the word fanatic is someone who is stuck in a temple and can't get out. That's what these people are. They're complete fanatics. They're just locked in this temple of the theology of whatever they think their, woke ideology is.
Yeah.
So not only can I not listen to it, you can't listen to it. And I'll tell you what, these people are liars. They're not virtue signals. They're just straight up liars. They know that he's not either a racist
Well, I'm
or a
wondering
homophobe.
if
And they
there's
don't,
anybody on Earth that listens to that and thinks this guy hates Asian people.
no.
Because
There isn't. They're lying.
There's
I
another
don't
clip
believe
where
they do.
they're having a similar conversation, and at one point they're like, "That's some good racism there, awesome racism." Like, racists don't talk like that.
It's burn the heretic mentality, man.
And
that's all this is.
Like in an article, like, quote, "That's some good racism there," as if this is damning evidence. Like, obviously, like, look, he loves racism. It's nonsense. And so anyway, there's been articles and tweets pouring out all weekend. What the hell? This guy should be Saturday Night Live. You're a beacon of whatever. You gotta. Oh God, get rid of him. And you know, and they weren't commenting. Part of me was hoping that maybe this would be the tide turning, and maybe just once they'll be like, we're a comedy show and it's just jokes. Settle down.
So the tide might be turning for people who don't care about their opinions. Like Bill Burr and Dave Chappelle and Louis C.K. don't care about their opinions. The reason why they went so hard in on Shane Gillis is because they know until last week Shane Gillis was living with roommates in an apartment in Queens. You were in Queens. He lives in the same neighborhood as we do.
He's probably eating boiled bananas for breakfast.
Probably, man. You know, the guy has bad credit. He like lives in, you know, he's in friggin' still in student loan debt. So the reason why they can go after him is because he's a soft target. Do you know what I mean? He needed the approval, or at least the money that SNL would give him.
He can't.
Dave Chappelle doesn't care about their opinion.
He can't do a Dave Chappelle mic drop. All right, I'm going to Africa.
Yeah, see you later. Yeah, he can't do that just yet, right?
So we'll continue talking about this, but let's do a quick station ID, and let's play a clip of, just for comparison's sake, we'll play an actual written performed stand-up set from Shane Gillis, and just because again that's a podcast, which I want to talk about when we come back, kind of the difference between making a speech, having a conversation, having a podcast, having an open mic set, having like a showcase set, having like a televised TV set. There's different.
All of the
standards.
people who are upset about that had that conversation secretly. That's why they went after him, just to absolve themselves.
All right, so let's hear Shane Gillis, What Every Country Song Is About, after this brief word from Brian Godsoe.
And we need the Godsoe pop. All right, I got this.
Brian Godsoe, Star Powers. Brian Godsoe.
You're listening to St. John Forward Radio, 107.3 FM. Come and get it, because it's hot.
It is hot. I don't know, I just moved to New York this year, and yeah, it's all right. New York's all right. It's nice. I like it more than I thought I would, but I just found out I was fat. I'm 31. I just this year found out that I was a fat guy. I'm from a white trash enough town that this was killing it. People back home see me, they're like, what's your fucking secret? I'm like, oh, I'm just hanging out, man. It's mostly hanging out. And then, I don't know, I moved to Philly first. I lived in Philly for like 2 years. Yeah, go Birds. And then, but it was funny because I moved like from a white trash town to Philly like right during the presidential election. you pussies. No, but it was funny because that was a big jump. I went from like an all white trash town to the city where now all my new friends were like real woke. And that was like, because if this was my hometown, someone could just walk in here in full camouflage and sit down, and you'd be like, that's a fucking good outfit. You trying to get pussy in here tonight, dude? Come on, man. You're going full camo at Clusterfest, all right? Like, everybody I grew up with listens to country music, and I don't, but I get it. Like, I understand why white people like it. You know? Like, you can relate to it. You can understand all the lyrics. You don't need to Google what a nay-nay is. I don't know if you know this, every country song's just about exactly what a white guy's doing at that moment. It's like, I turn the radio up. It's like, yeah, fuck yeah. That's good. That's music. That's what I like. I get it. You can relate to it. I ride around, I listen to rap. That's all I listen to. I can't relate to one fucking song. I just ride around by myself, bob my head, just like, I beat the pussy up. Just like, I don't know if I beat it up. Like, I'm like, I'll shadowbox the pussy. I've never knocked it out. Everyone's knocking out pussies. I've never knocked it out. I'm more like Floyd Mayweather with the pussy. Very technical. Very defensive. That's all I listen to. I just ride around, listen to people brag about how good they are at sex. I don't think I've ever made a girl make a sound with my dick. Except like when I lay on them at first and they're like, that's it, just, oh, Jesus, mister. Yeah, good. So that's where I'm from. And then I moved to the city. And here, let me lose you again real quick. It was right during the presidential election. And it was funny because all my friends went from like white trash to, like I said, woke. And they were all like, did you guys all vote Democrat? Did anybody here vote? Do you guys remember how like confident you guys were? Going into that last one? You remember that? A little borderline arrogant going into that. All right. Don't let it cost you again. No, relax. I did not vote for him. Yeah, fuck yeah. No, I actually did not vote for him, which that was tough. Look at me. His whole campaign was at me. I was watching TV. He was like, "Are you a fucking fat idiot?" I was like, "Yeah, dude. Yeah, what are we doing? What the fuck are we doing, dude? We're building walls? Hell yeah." I took skull out of my mouth to come up here. And I didn't vote for Donald Trump. Makes me like the Nelson Mandela of central Pennsylvania. You guys are all right. I want you guys to know, though, I do have black friends. No, it's nice having black friends when the rest of your friends are just fucking goofy white guys. It's nice. You get some outside perspective, some advice. You just gotta be careful of the advice you take from your black friends when it comes to, like, sex. When you look like Uncle Buck, it doesn't translate. Like, this is the advice my friend gave me when I went on a date with this chick. He was like, "Hey, yo, Shane, you don't want to go too deep in the pussy. She's always going to want the dick." He's like, you're worried about depth? Like, depth is I didn't even know they had depth. I'm just happy to be there. You're worried about, like, depth is an issue? He was like, "You don't want to give her the whole dick." I'm like, "That's all I have." What are you talking about? I've never been, like, halfway in and been like, "Ooh. You gotta earn the rest of this dick." It's insane. Depth? That's crazy. I'm worried about, like, the noises I'm making. Like, I just sound like a shitty ghost the whole time. Just like, it's almost done. Depth. Or my face? You ever worry about your face when you're fucking? Don't do it. Don't think about how dumb you look. You'll end up looking like a fucking psycho trying to look handsome the whole just. It's not good. It's worse for me if I let it go. Like, if I just let my face go during sex. Like, I look like Brandon Dassey from Making a Murderer the whole just. Girl's down there, she's like, "Did you do it?" I'm like, "I don't know." Yeah.
Racist and misogynist Shane Gillis on St.
I mean,
John
the best
Forward
of
Radio.
when you've got the best of both worlds, why not, right?
So yeah, and that was at the Anti-Skank Fest, Cluster Fest. That was a big Comedy Central industry thing, and that set that he did there probably was a step on the way to getting Saturday Night Live.
Probably, yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, that's not like again. He's not using the C word, like the one for Asian people.
Clusterfest.
I'm not gonna repeat.
Right.
But like it's just really, it just shows the disingenuity. Is that a word? Anyway, you know what I mean. That people, like when people get mad at something in a Netflix special, then it's like they just pretend like they don't know what a joke is at all, or the concept of it. But then when on that podcast clip, which is something like how long's the podcast? Like an hour or 2 hours? Does it come out like every week?
Used
Probably.
to. Yeah.
So that's like a Netflix special is something that most people have spent like at least a year on and doing it night after night, and they wrote it down and they performed it and they did it once and it got a reaction and they said that was good, and then they did it again the next night, and there's a whole process there. And like there is structure to it, but like you go further and further down the chain from Netflix down to, in which even a Netflix isn't the same as a TED Talk where like this is my opinion that I want to put out into the world. It's about getting a laugh. But then like you go down and like maybe like just a show that you're headlining on the way to recording a special, which has a different expectation. You're still working on it. And then like maybe just like a 15 or a 30-minute spot somewhere that people bought tickets for. And then like down to like an open mic level thing where you still thought about it and like, this is what I'm going to talk about tonight. But then like a podcast is at the very bottom of that. And that style of podcast, which those 2 minutes and a couple other clips are all that I've heard, but that seems like a typical comedian hangout podcast where it's just
two mentally ill people throwing a bunch of noodles into the air and hoping something Nooders and hoping it'll stop.
Like it's a different thing, and that's, we're in a society now where having a podcast is a way that, like, having a podcast got Shane Gillis on that stage at Clusterfest to some extent, and eventually led to getting the offer for Saturday Night Live. And it's something that people want. They want to, just the conversations that comedians have always been like that. Like I said, you and I have had conversations that are just as bad as that.
Oh, it's probably worse, yeah.
But, and, like, I wouldn't want to record those conversations and put them out on the internet.
I've recorded each and every one of them.
Because I probably wouldn't lose my job if I got caught saying something on a podcast.
Don't go into work tomorrow, John, by the way. But, like, if before, like, the past decade, those comedian conversations have been happening for as long as stand-up has been happening, and it's only recently that somebody was like, hey, we should record this and put it out, and that's something that can be done now. And so, but to hold it, and again, the actual things, statements in isolation, it's hard to defend. But what
like,
do you have to defend? Two people having a conversation?
I know,
there's
but
nothing to defend.
If this was a thing that they were saying and like meant it to their core and weren't just messing around, like, I don't know.
It's obvious they don't. They're having a conversation. What do you mean meant it? They meant that they were having a conversation about an experience that they had. This is absurd. The idea. This is not just comedians that have conversations. Everyone has conversations. Yeah. The reason why people listen to podcasts like that is because people have conversations like that. It mimics the kinds of real life interactions that people have.
That happen when you're not looking over your shoulder and worried that you're getting tattled on.
I don't. I say it loudly. I actually say it over the PA speaker at work. Actually,
yeah, but you're a POC. You've got a bit more leeway than the rest of us do. But I actually disagree.
I think this is for different reasons. I actually think that it's a good thing that he didn't get SNL. I think he is much better off without SNL, and SNL is
a stretch.
SNL is a dying beast that is not interesting to anyone who really likes comedy.
Nobody's career ever took a nosedive because they got cast on Saturday Night Live. It's only as bad as the show is.
All of the people who
it's still something that would get his name out there. There are garbage comedians who can still fill a room and sell tickets because they can say that as a credit.
The kind of comedy that he does is much better off without the added burden of having to save face for the bozos that watch SNL. It is just
but that's the thing. If he didn't have to save face, if he could do the Saturday Night, like he's not going to have that conversation. That podcast clip is not going to be a Saturday Night Live sketch. But if they could say, like, we're hiring you to do this thing, and he does that thing, it gets his name out there. There's like the who's Jim whatever Goat Boy.
Huh? What are you talking about?
What's his name? He was in Half Baked.
Florentine.
No,
Brewer.
Yeah, Jim Brewer. Like, I haven't seen him do stand up, but I don't know. I'm guessing he's not great at it.
No, he's good.
Is he?
Brewer's
Okay.
good.
All right, I put my foot in my mouth. But I've seen Chris Redd, who's a current cast member on Saturday Night Live. I've seen him. I saw him at Just for Laughs last year, and it was okay. But he's on that show, so he's automatically like a headliner, and he will sell out a weekend if he does a tour.
It's good to just get the money from a corporation. Listen, I'm not, from a mindless beast like NBC. Yeah. But as far as actually being creative, and I'm so surprised that Michael Che can still be so funny as funny as he is while still being on SNL.
Yeah. Well, and
literally there's no one else that's as funny.
He may
as
have found a way to... I wouldn't say he would be like his true self, but there's a way that you can fit within the parameters of.
By the way, Michael Che's been on the Legion of Skanks a whole bunch of times, and he's been hilarious on it.
I'm surprised that like Che. I don't know if they've been on the same episode or not, but he's in the crew. I'm sure Michael Che knows who Shane Gillis is, and like I'm sure somebody was like, "Hey, do we need to worry about this guy?"
It's not even... I don't think it's even SNL's fault. I think it's the fault of the general pylon that happened over...
I think Saturday Night Live, I think they made... I don't like it, but it's the right decision for them.
And it's the right decision for Shane Gillis because he's much better off.
That's a show that their general person that they're going to doesn't like Shane Gillis anyway. No. It may have broadened their audience, having a different type of thing, but that depends how much of him got through anyway.
Real comedy is only happening at the fringes, man. These people are just like, this is just mainstream dog shit comedy.
I think if they just ignored it and put him on anyway, it probably would have done the organization more harm. So that's the way to go. But just the whole idea of anybody thinking that this guy's an actual problem is just mind-blowing to me.
Well, there's also something very sort of sad about it because that he's just people can't hide behind the fact that, when they're going after, say, someone like a Burr or a Chappelle or someone else or a Seinfeld, you can hide behind, it's a rich guy, so I can just destroy this person's life with impunity, just say whatever the hell I want about him.
Yeah.
Without worrying about the consequences because, hey, he has money, this guy will be all right. Shane's not that guy.
Yeah.
Shane's just a dude.
Yeah.
He's just a 31-year-old. Yeah. He's a kid. He's younger than me, and he's sleeping on a couch.
He makes less money than we do.
Probably, man. And it's just, having... What is the New York Times doing writing about something like this? Do they have there's a war happening... there are oil fields happening
there are actual
on fire in Saudi Arabia.
Causing actual harm beyond saying some words into a microphone. One last thing I wanted to touch on before we got 10 minutes left. What do you think about the Andrew Yang, the Democratic presidential nominee? He's an Asian guy.
Yeah.
He's come out.
I like Yang. Yeah.
Said, or what else? I should have
them,
the actual quote, but just talked about how kind of we're a bit too vindictive.
We're a punitive society,
and we need to,
I agree.
Look at and he said like it should be taken in the context. This guy's a comedian.
It wouldn't matter even if it was the actual. It would not matter because this is not about protecting the feelings of Asian people or people of color.
Yeah,
like the people who white knight for people of color.
There's other clips that came out that I never heard. I just read the typed word version of it, where I think he actually called Andrew Yang something that involved the C word, possibly also the
By the way,
F-word.
By the way, Yang himself makes fun of his own ethnicity in his own, in his campaigns, and Asian people go after him saying that you shouldn't say those jokes, even though
Well,
So
I'm any politician saying anything, I question their motives anyway. I think I like Yang. I like I don't know much about him other than that he's running to be president, so I assume he's inherently a bad person. But just anybody that's I think this is a bit of a calculated political move where it's just to set himself apart from the other kind of lunatics that most normal people probably think are a little bit too far on the left. So to have one guy come out and say something shockingly reasonable, I think may set him apart from the pack. But he still makes a good point. I said the same thing about Louis. Like, I still think what he did was bad, but as what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, as much as I agree with some feminist things, my tactics, what I want to do about the things that I may agree that certain things are a problem, but what we're going to do about it, I diverged a lot from the super woke internet. And I think
you still have a little bit of Christianity left in you. We can still forgive people, man. It's just
there needs to be decency. And I don't know if anybody's calling for Shane Gillis to not even be allowed to do stand-up anymore, which I'm not going to be surprised if it could go either way. People know who he is now, so on the one hand, that might make him more bookable, but also are people going to be showing up and protesting and complaining? I don't know. But just we need to start having a conversation where if somebody does something that is, even if it is genuinely a bad thing, there needs to be a conversation had about, okay, so if somebody wants to make up for it, I think it would be hilarious to have Shane Gillis sit down with this dorky politician.
Yes, I would like to have
and learn a thing or two about this is how you should do comedy.
Yeah, I would definitely like to have a conversation. So ladies, please DM me of just pictures of yourself in yoga pants, maybe. But I definitely, we could start off with the conversation like that and then sort of build into. But is that the kind of conversation you mean? Or
no, I think we're stuck on like both crazy ends of the spectrum are both stupid. Like I don't want to be the completely anything goes, who cares, shut up, you're dumb. Like or like on the other side is you said a bad thing, and this one I can't even say it was a long time ago. This was like within the last year that most of the
even if he had said it yesterday, it wouldn't have been a problem. But
at least have a discussion about what the problem is and try to get some more insight. Do you actually
they're cosplaying
Asian
outrage,
people?
man?
Yeah.
They don't. They're cosplaying outrage. This is not. None of this is real. You understand? It has real world consequences. But their outrage isn't real. They're lying.
Yeah. Well, even something like remember on the Louis TV show where they had the scene where they're playing poker, and I forget the guy's name, but he explains to Louis what's wrong with saying the word faggot.
Rick Chrome is the name. Is his name? Yeah.
And like that kind of thing is the discussion that we should be having, where it's not like you're a bad person and you're a homophobe because you said the word faggot. But he had the conversation like, you do what you want, but I just want you to know that when I hear that word, this is how it makes me feel. And that puts it on them to say, like, that's a much more reasonable thing. Like, you say what you want, but just know that when you say things like this is how you're making me feel.
What if you say it to your mirror every morning?
Yeah, well, that's fine. Then you can have a conversation with the mirror. Be like, it really hurts my feelings when you call me this. But just making everybody more aware of the impact of the things that they say is a much better tactic than just, you've screwed up, see you later. Just that kind of thing. Because that's the most liberal position that you can take for actual crimes. Nobody on the left would be arguing that, like, you steal something and you should have life in prison or the death penalty or something. Like, you go and you serve your time and you come back. Like even murder, you can get out of jail eventually and you serve your time. It's not good. I think if you're coming out of jail after being in there for 30 years, it might be hard to find a job. And it fails miserably, but at least on paper, our whole criminal justice system is supposed to be to make up for the bad thing, not to punish you. And, well, I think people get that mixed up. People are pretty gleeful about, like, oh, yeah, he's going to go to jail, and I hope he gets raped and all that stuff, which is a punitive model, which doesn't do anybody any good. And
You've been getting my messages, then.
Yeah, and that's why it doesn't work. That's why you send somebody to jail for a minor drug offense, and you tell them, well, you're screwed now. You're on a list. You can't get certain jobs, and you're going to go in there, and you're being put with the worst of the worst, and you're going to learn bad things, and you're going to come out probably worse off than when you went in. And that's the same kind of thing when you get comedy banished. Then you're just going to get stuck in the corner with maybe some other people that actually are bigots. I don't know. That's not going to happen here. But if they sent Shane Gillis out to Bigot Island
the Gulag
for 5 years, he'd probably come back maybe a little bit more actual racist than he was when he went there.
It's not going to happen. He's not a racist. He's not going to turn into a racist. None of this is going to happen. Shane Gillis is going to be fine. SNL is going to be in the toilet. It always was. And these people are just going to continue to just take whatever. They're just going to take each other down and turn on each other eventually. This is great for Shane. It sucks that he lost a revenue, but I think the fact that it happened, the sort of hypocrisy and lies of the kinds of
it's free
hall monitors.
Podcast.
These people are hall monitors. You have to understand. These people are going after him. These are those those kids in high school who are like, "What are you? I'm going to tell the teacher. I'm going to tell everyone what you did." That's what that's what these people are. All right.
But I'm just wondering, like, the normal person who isn't a blogger and isn't a comedian.
They don't care.
If you play that clip, is a normal person going to be like, "Oh, that dude's racist"? I don't really
think
don't
there's
know.
such a thing as we're all normal people, and we're not. I don't think the comics are any. First of all, consider myself a comic.
Take away the context.
I fix computers for a living.
All of the podcast appearances where we've heard Shane Gillis endear himself to us. If we don't know what a podcast is, we don't know stand-up comedy. If you take out all of that backstory, does it still, even in that case, I'm not sure does that play as this guy hates Asian people? Like, I don't know if no, I really don't know.
No, I
don't think so.
No, because I walk around IT and there's the friggin' Asian jokes fly all the time. Oh, Frank, you got the noodles again. Yeah. Oh, Frank, what are you having, some broccoli? What's up, Arif? Oh, geez, where's that smell coming from? It's fine.
And the even
mind you, everyone in IT also has possibly is just. They're all watching.
They're not
Twitch
stopping.
Streams and got
even if it was racist, this isn't stopping the racism. If he was racist, this would make him dig in his heels and be like, "See, those people are trying to shut me down."
They don't care about racism, dude. What do you think these woke scolds care about racism? What the whole point is to scold, is to find the heretic. They don't care about environmental issues or any of this stuff that goes on in this stuff has nothing to do with any of those actual issues. They're cosplaying outrage. That's it.
All right, we got to cut it off. We're at the end. Arif Hussain, do you have anything to plug? I don't have any.
Oh, it's just 4-story walk up, and there's a show at the St. John Marina that I'm a part of on Friday.
I'll put it in the comments on the podcast. Anyway, that's the show. Good night.